it's Lee from ColouringQueen.net, and I've got a very special review for you today. As you can see, this is Rising by Karolina Kupakowski. Both of these books have the same image, but this one has hardback, and this one has a very special feature that I haven't seen in any colouring books before. So let's have a look through it. If you would prefer the short flip through, the links are below the video. So you can see it up against Joanna Basford's Secret Garden colouring book. It is longer, more like a foolscap if you're in Australia, that sort of page. And on the cover, we've got this card cover that's got like a smudge-proof binding on it, because I've ran my hands over it many a time and it doesn't smudge. On the back, there's a really thick piece of card that keeps it all sturdy. And again, with this lovely soft smudge-proof binding. And this outside binding here down the spine is quite flexible and it moves around a bit. And you'll see why in a minute. Now, unlike the hardback edition, there is no gold foiling on the front. This is just colour printed, but it still looks absolutely gorgeous. Now, opening it up, we have, instead of the protective pages that are in the hardback book, we have this printed on the inner cover, a message from Karolina about her process and what she was going through when she created this book. Now, the book is printed on white paper, but can you see the big difference? That's it. It's the binding. Now, this is not spiral binding, as we might all know from even from Karolina's other books like Ticket to Dreams and Imaginary Friends. This is a new type of special binding called click binding. If you've ever used a folder or a binder at work or at home or while you study, you know exactly what this is. It's like a normal ring binder, except it has more rings, and it's in a colouring book. I've never seen this. Normally, we just have spiral binding. So all we do is just click it apart. And that means that with these little plastic ring coils, we can take pages out and we can put pages back in. We can frame it. We can go up to the gutter with our colouring, and then we can just snap them back to undo the book. So as you can see, this one is printed on white paper rather than the off-white that is in the hardback edition. And because it's got that spiral binding, we have all this space down the side, so things aren't falling into the edge. Now, it is about 30 centimetres long, your coloured page. We've got this beautiful soft grey here on this first image, and then our gorgeous colouring page. But see how smooth it is to just lift these pages over. Now, I believe the paper is 150 GSM, but if I'm wrong, I will update the description below the video on that. Now, the publishers told me that they did a very, very limited print run on this book. So the links to buy it are below. I don't know whether they will do another print run. Look at this gorgeous little face in amongst the flowers. And throughout this, Karolina has added some little words and feelings and thoughts throughout the pages. And as usual, we've got the different coloured eyes, or different types of eyes that she always does, and her signature mushrooms that are there throughout. I always think of Karolina's art with this hatching as more of pen and ink drawings. I don't know about you guys, but even the cat has got a third eye. Now, see how easy it is? It's just as simple as lifting the page over and you can unclip any page that you want. So I'm going to be colouring from this book later on in the week. And all I did, I unclipped the page that I wanted to colour, and I actually copied it so I could work out a colour scheme, which is another great use of being able to take the pages out. So you can take it out, you can use your alcohol markers, you can put that onto a mat or something else rather than colouring within the book. And then because Carolina's pages are such artwork, you can easily frame it, as well as having the ease of being able to colour right up to the edge without having to get your pencil into that ditch or having to press on the spine and push the paper down. I mean, it is just so easy. And so when I wanted to copy a page and work out what colours I wanted to do for a picture, I just turned to the page and I unclipped the images of the coils and simply took the page out. Now this feels like a light cardstock. And so there it is. You can just simply take it out. Now if I want to put it back in, I just simply line up and pop it back in. And then simply clip it up, making sure they're all lined, and they snap back in. You can hear the little snap. It's just like a ring binder that you might have had for school, or I have a ring binder that I keep lots of colouring things in. So it's just like that, but plastic coil. I've never seen a colouring book like it. Have you? So we'll be colouring from this book later on in the week. And I also do have a giveaway, not for this book, because as I said, it's a limited print run. And I don't know that even I would be able to get another copy of it. But I do have a giveaway running for Carolina's hardback colouring book of Rising. And you can check out the link below for that giveaway. But look at this, isn't it gorgeous? You've got all those lovely darks in the background and then the hands in the foreground. So there's something to colour no matter what sort of mood you're in. If you're feeling like colouring animals, or if you're feeling like colouring people or scenes, there's something there for everyone. And even some smaller images or less detailed if you just want to do something a little bit simpler. Now things like this is a whole little essay from Carolina, and it's really beautiful about taking a break and being able to make that shift in your imagination, and it'd be something that would be really lovely to put into a frame and maybe gift to somebody. And here we've got all the dark hatching here. Now I always think with Carolina's pictures, where it's darker, like here, and where there's more hatching, that's where you go in darker with your colours. So think of it as like the grayscale shadowing, but instead it's in black hatching. And where it's lighter, that's where your highlights are. That's the way I work it out, but if you've got a different way, I'd love to know. And so we've got these beautiful images of trees in the background. And then this girl, she's basically rising out of this gorgeous floral arrangement. Our beautiful young girl again. She's got stars on her, lovely hair. It's very textured. And then, of course, our bird with the beads on top. Really, really stunning. Now, this is the one with the most black on it in the picture. So if you don't like doing backgrounds. And here we have our beautiful peacock. And look at her beautiful, elegant hands. They're very elegated, like the feathers there. It's really quite beautiful, that picture. My partner said that's the one that I should colour, but I've already chosen another one. And this is the first time I've seen Carolina do a gnome in one of her books. So we've got the dark woodland here, and this looks like the entrance, or it could be a nut, I don't know, a very big nut. I think it's the entrance. And we've got the gorgeous little gnome here, and of course the little mushrooms. And look at this beautiful hair. And instead of freckles, we've got little stars. So there's a lot of nice little faces amongst this book. So this little pixie or little fairy with her gorgeous little face. And then we've got half bodies and, of course, lots of leaves and plants. And no mushrooms in this one. And beautiful fluffy cat that looks like my gorgeous Millie, but not quite. And these leaves look like they've got little drops of rain on them. So there's always something to see in Carolina's pages, you know. You see first, I see the woman, and then I see the animal head on top. So it always gives you something to search out. The triple faces. And this gorgeous little one, I think she's a little white witch and she's practicing a spell. It's absolutely beautiful, this picture. And a little note again from Carolina. A golden glow shines onto the clearing you have reached. Isn't it beautiful? This beautiful lady face down in the water. They're very pensive, and there's a real air of sort of melancholy about some of the images in this book, I think. I'd be interested to know what you think. This one's gorgeous with all the butterflies. But isn't this binding a dream? You just quickly turn it over and you have your next page, and you can take it out, you can colour up to the side, you can frame your pictures. I think it's just fantastic. Now we've got our beautiful fairy here. Now, as I said, this is a limited print run, so I don't know if they're going to print it in this click binding again. So if you did want the click binding, the links to buy it are below the video. So we've got our beautiful jellyfish here and our half naked lady and this gorgeous dull black background. And there's a lot of different line weights and line art on here. It's absolutely gorgeous. And this one again is a dull black background. So if you could go over that in black or your colour of your choice, whatever you wanted. And again, a beautiful, highly detailed picture here. This lady has so much hair. It's just everywhere. It's absolutely stunning and it fills the page. So colouring this in the hardback edition, you've got to get your pencil in right into the edge here. But here, you've got like a centimetre you can colour in the book, or you can just take it out and colour it wherever you like. And then we have our beautiful cover. This is not a separate page, it's on the back cover. So unlike the hardback book, it doesn't have protective pages, and then you just fold it over. And because of this binding is protected by this card cover, the spiral binding, I don't know about you guys, but I have to put all my spiral bound colouring books on one shelf in my cover because the binding, because it's loose like this, it's on the outside, it rubs up against books that have a dust jacket and it can quickly tear them if I'm careless in getting them out of the cupboard. But because this binding is actually protected by the cover, I don't have that problem anymore, because the coil is not going to rub on anything else because it's protected in the cover. So best of both worlds. Plus, unlike normal spiral binding, I can take this out. Now, one thing I would have liked to see is a spare page in the book, just so I can colour swatch, because I'm going to have to use the title page. So I'm going to test out some mediums. I don't want to colour in the little birdie, so I'll probably do my swatch down here or up here. So, but if I had one extra page, then I could have used that. Okay, I've filled out my swatches here. I'm going to test out some pencils, an alcohol marker, and 2 water-based mediums so that you can see what will work well in this book. Now, normally I would just go and, you know, colour right in here. But because of click binding, I can take this page out. So lift up this page and take it out. Bear in mind, it will be easier for you because you don't have a big camera and lights in the way. Okay, so now I can colour it on my mat or wherever I fancy. So let's just zoom in and let's start with the Prismacolor. To start with burnt ochre, and as per usual, I'm just going to go light on the first layer. Now, this paper does have a slight texture to it, which makes it great for pencils. Now, this is a bright white or a white, whereas the hardback is a off-white, creamy colour or ivory colour. Going in with peach, and it's going on really smoothly and just on a light scumball here. It's taking out the tooth, going in with the light peach, and you really don't have to do a lot of work for it to blend. I'm going to go again because I always go really light first up, and that's so I can erase all my mistakes. And the second layer is going on just as smooth. Going back in here, there's a few little white spots, but I don't press that hard. So here I am increasing the pressure, and those white spots are pretty well going all away, which is just basically the hills and valleys of the paper not flattening. I could always go over with white or a blender pencil, but I use this sort of technique of colouring back into the previous colour. So going in with the light peach, and it's really smoothed out. I think this paper would take multiple layers, so we'll try another one. And it's really flattened down the tooth just on that little tiny bit that I've gone on, and going over it again just really has flattened down the tooth. I am getting some pencil dust here that you might be able to see on screen because I have pressed a little bit harder, just because I wanted to see what it would be like, basically. But it basically smooths out. It goes on really soft and it feels really good. So the paper is great with Prismacolors. Let's try the Holbein. I've got salmon pink here from my small set of pastels, and they're what I usually use for any colouring review. I've had them for years. They've done heaps of reviews and pages, and they still haven't got smaller. It's going in again with this lighter colour. They go on so smooth. They feel like they slide on the page, but not in a slippery, uncontrollable way, but just in a really smooth way. They seem to love this paper. And going on again. They are just so smooth and creamy. Now, Holbeins are just fantastic pencils anyway, but they seem to really love that paper. Let's try the Polychromos, and I've got Cadmium Orange Dark over here. They go on very soft, they feel smooth. There's no scratchiness, although they do tend to make a little bit more noise when they go down on the paper than other ones, but maybe I notice it more. Coming in with the light cadmium, And again, they're very soft. They're blending easily into the previous colour, and they're really flattening down that tooth just on a light colouring. Now, I know many polychromo users are able just to colour straight without any layering, but again, I always do a couple of layers, basically because I make so many mistakes that I want to be able to rub it out if I feel it's going in the wrong direction. So I always start off light. So the poly is taking a second layer really easily. They're flattening down the tooth. There's no little white marks there that I can see. Bear in mind, I'm sitting a little bit away because I've got a light in my way, so I can't get as close to the page as if I was colouring without the light, but very easy. They feel smooth on the paper and they're blending out really well. I feel like this could take a little bit more orange. So yeah, very happy with that. And the colour looks vibrant on that white paper too. We've got the Artex colouring pencils. So let's go in with Ocean Blue. And it's looking vibrant on the paper. It's making a little scratchy noise and it's not covering as much of the tooth as others, but this is only the first layer, so you can see the little white marks there. So I'm just going to come back into that. And as I said, even if you did get a bit of tooth on your first layer, you could always blend it out with white or a coloured blender. My favourite blender is the Caran d'Ache one. It's fantastic. Going back in with that blue. So we'll go a second one. And it does need to have a bit more firmer pressure with the Artex to flatten down the tooth. So it's not quite flattened and still white spots there. So I think I might need to do another layer to flatten out that tooth. And I'm going to press hard or harder. And that's the other reason I don't press that hard, is because many of you know I've got a wrist injury and it's actually painful for me to press hard. So there we go. Once we pressed a little bit harder, we're flattening out the tooth. So it's really hard to always say what pencils are like because we're all different. If I say I press light, like, what does that actually mean? Like, you know, how light, you know, because we're all different. We all hold things differently. We all have different techniques. Like when my partner gives me a massage, I sort of beg for him to stop because he's so hard and he thinks he's going lightly and I think he's hurting me. So we've all got different ideas on what soft and light is as well. So trying the Black Widows now. This is the Dragon Wizard from the Monarch box, and we're going to cover it up with some Dragon Green Glow. And it's feeling a little bit scratchy, but the pencils do go on soft. They're just making a little bit of a scratchy noise. They're still covering it and they're still going into those little hills and valleys, the tooth on the paper. I think we can go a bit harder with the Black Widows. And just going to go around here, and when you press firmly, and get some beautiful effects with these. And going over for the second time with a lighter touch, the tooth is it's getting flattened. There might be a few little bits of white that might need to be blended in a little bit more, but overall they're going pretty well and they're flattening out that tooth. Few little white spots left, but I think if you pressed a little bit firmer or put in your white pencil or your blender pencil, you won't have any problems. Or alternatively, as I said before, your pressure could be more than what I'm applying. I'm actually very light, but I know there's people that are far lighter than me as well, or far heavier. So there we go. There's the Black Widows. So far, they're all really good, you know. The Pollys and the Holbeins, that they've got that sort of slidey feel. They feel so good on the paper, as does the Prismacolor. Artex and Black Widow, you might need to do a little bit more work or press a little bit harder if you're a light colorist like me. Now, this is not alcohol-based paper like Express Blend It card or Copic card that you use to blend out alcohol markers. So if you want to use alcohol markers, you can, but make sure you take the page out of the book if you're using it, the click-bound book, or if you're using the hardback book, make sure you put like a plastic liner, a laminated sheet, or a ton of paper in between the image, because this paper is not designed for alcohol markers. And to blend out alcohol markers, like other than using them solidly, you really need a paper that's suited for that purpose, like the Express Blender card or the Copic card. So there's our Bic marker, which is alcohol-based. I know it is going to go through on the other side of the paper, and it has. So that is no surprise to me at all. I would not use alcohol-based markers on any sort of colouring book page unless they're actually created with alcohol-based markers. If they're single-sided, obviously you can put things in between the pages so that they don't bleed through, but without the proper alcohol-based paper, you can't blend your markers and create different visual effects. So there's that. So let's try the Inktense. Now this is not a watercolour but an ink. These are beautiful pencils. This is from my 12 set that I've had for years, and even though I have the bigger set, I'm still using my little set of 12 that I got, it must be at least 6 years ago, and they hardly have changed. I think they'll outlive me. So I've put quite a lot of pencil on there. With the Inktense, you put it lighter and then go into dark. And water brush. And it's just so smooth. You can just feel it filling all the little cracks and crannies. Now I know many colorists use a water base and then they let that dry and then they put their pencils on, so they avoid having to do all these layers and they can create beautiful visual effects. So if that's you, the Inktense is working perfectly on this paper. There is no bleed through or ghosting to the other side, and the page hasn't buckled at all. So now I'm going to try a Neo colour. I'm going to put some direct onto the page, and I'm also going to take some colour off the tip as well. And I've actually spilt my water brush on the page, but it should dry out. And it's going on as smooth as, it's dissolving the bit that I put on the paper direct, and it is just so smooth. I'll zoom you in so that you can see the finished result. All of the products that I've tested work perfectly. The alcohol markers you won't be able to blend, but make sure that you take it out of the book or you put something behind it because it will go through the other side. The pencils all work well. We've tested them with 2, 3 layers. They're all flattening out that tooth. Some take more than others. The watercolors are just going like a dream. And I actually spilt my water brush on here, but hopefully that page will dry and it won't buckle or anything like that. That's a look at our swatch chart. So I hope you found that helpful. And if you would like to find out how you can win a copy of Rising, the hardback edition, check out my video below. And until next time, stay safe and happy colouring.